Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for having me today. I took my glasses off, so if you're making faces in the back, I won't be able to tell. As I relayed to somebody else, I lost my voice over the weekend. It has come back. It's not quite totally there yet, but it's back. So if you have any problems hearing me, please let me know and move closer, I guess. Anyway, I do appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk with you a little bit today. I let your presenters down. They were expecting a PowerPoint presentation from me, and I didn't deliver one. But anyway, I thought a nice introduction would be a very, very brief video from the Washington Capitals. So actually, I have an assistant. How about that? I have an assistant today.
Get up, all I see is red. On top, heavy is the head. Yes, we will stand on ground. No, we won't back down. What are you waiting for? Strap on your armor, now it's time for war. There'll be no place to hide. Sharpen your blades, 'cause tonight we ride. Come is one for all. You can push, but we'll never fall. Get up, all I see is red. On top, heavy is the head. We will stand on ground. No, we won't back down. Mister in the sky, reach high, fury never die. We will stand on ground. No, we won't. 'Cause it's one for all. You can push, but we will never fall.
Just to give you a little bit of a background, Monumental Sports and Entertainment, right? It's a holding company. Nobody loves a holding company. It actually is a company that oversees 3 professional sports teams. So the NHL's Washington Capitals, NBA's Washington Wizards, WNBA's Washington Mystics. We also own Verizon Center, which is a downtown arena where all 3 teams play. We also manage a facility called Kettler Capitals Iceplex in Arlington, Virginia. It's the training center and front offices of the Washington Capitals. And we also manage, oddly, we manage the George Mason University Eagle Bank Arena, formerly the Patriot Center. So we kind of manage a couple of facilities. We own one. We have 3 teams. We have obviously a number of concerts, family shows that come through Verizon Center. Georgetown plays there. And let me introduce this video. And more recently, in 2013, and I'd like to get into this a little bit later, we launched a Monumental network. It's a digital network, digital platform that all of our teams kind of feed their content into. I actually came to D.C. in 2002. I originally worked at Princeton University before coming here in their athletic department. Came here because I was a huge hockey fan, had an opportunity to work for the Capitals, and really enjoyed my time there. Our owner, Ted Leonsis, who had owned 100% of the Capitals at the time, also had shares in Washington Sports and Entertainment, which owned the Wizards and the Verizon Center. And in 2010, he had an opportunity to purchase the remaining shares of those 2 entities. So over time, I slowly got more involved in his day-to-day work. When I was strictly with the Capitals, he was in full-time mode at AOL. Kind of retired from AOL, and at that point I kind of took on a little bit more responsibilities communications-wise related to him. And I remember it was the day before we were going to make this huge announcement that we were going to buy this NBA team, an arena, and he calls me into his office with the president of the Capitals, and I'm going over my remarks that I had kind of crafted for him. And he said, he goes to our president, Dick Patrick, he goes, Dick, did you tell Kurt about his new responsibilities? And I'm sitting there going, well, I don't even know how to take this. I don't even know what new responsibilities they are. I just want to get through tomorrow. Can you just look at your remarks and like tell me if they're okay? You want me to change something? And at that point, he said, we'd really like you to take on more of a corporate role, kind of work a little bit more closely with him, and maybe eventually be involved in more team aspect, overseeing the communications for all the teams and the Verizon Center. So it was a great opportunity, even though at the time it kind of caught me off guard. But it's been a communications role that I've really kind of valued throughout the years. I don't know if from this group here, how many in this group here would really consider themselves to be communicators as their primary role? Okay. How about those who may consider themselves to be marketers as their primary role? How many of you think maybe you do both? Right? Right, and you start to think about it now in the way communications is defined. It was a really interesting, opportunity in learning a little bit more about your program, because this kind of integrated aspect of communications and marketing has probably never been so more blended. It's not quite as blended where we work. We have a communications department, and we have a marketing department, but you can see a lot of the responsibilities are cross-discipline, and it's really important, more so than ever, to kind of be collaborative in our approach. I will say I'm more on the communication side, and I know this is kind of generic, but our goal kind of going into each year and looking at things is trying to, and I've kind of tried to instill this into everyone, is we want to develop communications goals, strategies, and tactics that ensure a coordination and delivery of clear, consistent, and effective strategic messages to strengthen our relationships with our key stakeholders. Well, that does sound like a lot coming out, but if you go back and you kind of distill it in why you do certain things, I think that's an important thing to kind of fall back on and look at. And maybe more specifically, we're trying to devise ways for us to generate positive coverage for our teams and our players through a variety of communications and marketing channels. From our standpoint, our brand perception is really important. Last year, 91% of Wizards fans and 83% of Capitals fans had a positive impression of their teams. Granted, a lot of that has to do with team performance. I totally get it. But I will say the prior Wizards team didn't always have the same character of people that are on the current Wizards team, and that did impact, some of you know from the area, I hear a couple of chuckles, did impact how the team was perceived, even when the team was better. So, that's part of our role, I think, is to help tell that message. We want to personalize our players, right? They don't fall in love with the holding company. They fall in love with the players on the team. We want to create and suggest some compelling content for Monumental Network. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but our owned media. We want to focus on content creation, as I'm sure a lot of you do, but we've really now started to take a lot longer look and harder look at content distribution. How do we distribute our content? How do we get third parties to pick up and carry our content? We want to ensure alignment, obviously, with all of our business goals. We want to leverage some of our special events, our community events. We want to track some non-sports media in those opportunities. And obviously, we want to kind of stay focused on who we think our key influencers really are. I guess communications and marketing is obviously framed differently within each organization. Within all your organizations, probably a little bit differently. To give you a brief outline of how it is at Monumental, so I'm involved in communications. That is media relations, so team player relations, anything related to our venues that we manage, business communiques, internal communications, employee communications, those types of things are the things that we're involved in. From a content side, we have a guy who produces some great content for us, generally news and human interest oriented, usually short form. We have a separate group, a productions group that does more of the longer form. We're more focused on short form, news oriented. Blogs, video are our key kind of distribution outlets. And again, we try to look for that third party distribution, somebody that's going to carry that Monumental Network bug, on a traditional or non-traditional media site that'll help with our branding and our awareness of what is a relatively new platform for us. Also work in broadcasting, so I'm the liaison with our regional sports network, which is Comcast Sportsnet in this area. And like many pro teams, we actually own and operate our own radio rights. So we control all of our radio, all of our messaging, all of our advertising. And I say radio, but to me now, I know our radio guys are sick of hearing it, I want them to refer to it as audio. It's more than radio, it's more than terrestrial radio. It's satellite, it's online, and now more importantly than ever, it's mobile. We started a thing last year called CAPS 24/7. And it's an audio channel that we deploy through TuneIn. You can go to TuneIn, you can search for Washington Capitals, and you'll get this 24/7 channel that comes up. It's programmed all day to be Capitals, right? Most hockey fans, a lot of cities, especially this city, we feel that we get pushed to the side. A lot of NFL talk and Reds. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that name or not, but the football team. So we said, what? We'll just start our own channel, right? So our fans will have a place to go. Now we don't now have a staff to employ people who are going to talk Caps hockey all day. But what we do is we play music on there as well. We play music that we play at games. We play music that our players listen to. You'll hear the music of the locker room. So as a fan, it's a connection to, I love Braden Holtby. I'm not sure I love Braden Holtby's music, but since I love Braden Holtby, I'll listen to a couple minutes. We'll have updates every 15 minutes. Our radio guy can literally update it from his phone. And it'll be like you're listening to a radio station. This is new. This is what's happened. This is who we traded for. This is who we called up from the minors. This is who was injured. This is who's playing on what line tonight. This is the starting goalie. This is what the other going on with the other team. So we have that ability to kind of create that kind of immediate news cycle. And as we get closer to the game, obviously, we program it more hockey-oriented than music-oriented. But it's a trial. We started it last April. And we played the Rangers in the playoffs last year, Game 7. We had a little more than 20,000 fans listening strictly on our mobile app. And for a game itself, we average about 70,000 listeners through all of our audio platforms, all of our radio affiliates, online, satellite. Good luck trying to find out how many people are listening to XM Sirius. But it's a big audience. And it was something we needed to actually convince internally. Our sales department, big audience, 70,000 people listening, right? To be counted as a listener, you got to listen for 15 minutes, right? Everybody's in view. I got a page view. Yeah, page view. That person's going on that page for 5 seconds. You don't really know, right? You have time on site, but you may not always have how long they were on each page view. To be counted in audio, you got to be a long-time listener. So it's been an important aspect for us. It's actually a huge, I think, potential revenue growth for us as well. Finally, the foundation. It's actually one of the aspects of the job I love the most. We created a foundation, a charitable foundation for all of our teams, Monumental Sports and Entertainment Foundation. We focus on a variety of pillars, 5 pillars. We tried to narrow it down. When I read you the 5 pillars, you'll say, wow, you didn't really narrow it down very much, because anything you can think of probably falls within these 5 pillars. But obviously youth basketball and hockey, very important to us. Education and scholarship, pediatric health and wellness, military and veterans affairs, and then hunger and homelessness. But from a fan survey, 87% of our Caps fans, 85% of our Wizards fans think this engagement with our community is really important. And our owner, Ted Leonsis, has always preached what he has called a double bottom line. And that's one of the things of, hey, obviously you want to do well as a business, but you want to be a good neighbor, right? We have athletes in our community. They can make a difference, right? Their presence makes a difference. We had a guy on the Capitals just signed as a free agent elsewhere this past summer. But I remember he didn't want any notoriety. He wanted to give money to a very, very small local charity organization that created prosthetic limbs for children. I never thought about it, but as a kid grows, so does his need for, or her need for a prosthetic limb and how it changes. I just never thought of that. And insurance didn't always cover it. And so he wanted to help the small local charity, but he didn't want any publicity, no PR for it. And we're like, Mike, it's Mike Green, plays for Detroit now. We're like, Mike, don't you realize you're giving them some money? That's very nice. But your celebrity, your name, will mean more to that organization than probably the money that you give. And after it took a little while to sink in, he then realized it, and he was fine with it. But a lot of those guys are just very humble. They just want to do it on their own accord. And it's not like we're out there necessarily looking for the promotion of publicity for it, but a lot of what we can do is use the celebrity of our players to maybe shine a light on a certain cause. So that's a little bit of a basic background. Here's how I'd like to kind of spend a little bit of our time together. Take a look at some of the game day communications that we do. We'll look a little bit at Monumental Network, a little bit more specifically in our own media. And then maybe we'll look at something that I think all communicators, marketers should be leaders within their organization, and why I think that's important. But perhaps more importantly, I'm willing to, these are just notes, right? I can throw them aside. I want you to be my moderator. You know, I want to answer the questions that you have. You know, I want this to be something that you're going to get something out of, as opposed to me talking at you. I would rather hear from you, whatever your questions, concerns are at any point, and feel free to, you know, speak up, raise your hand, gladly address, you know, anything along the way, a question about anything, something new about the teams want to ask. That's certainly fine. I'll do the best I can to answer them. I know that there's a video back there, so I may not now answer them as clearly as I would have in the past unless we turn the video off, but I would gladly answer whatever I can. Anything at this point? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question about when you're using these celebrities,
Mhm.
how do you maintain their kind of image and make sure that they are not, you know, the bad boys or whatever that then can really damage kind of the PR and the image you've grown?
Yeah, we don't draft them. We don't trade for them. But what we do normally is we'll wait for training camp to open, and we'll have a variety of initiatives that we think we may want to do throughout the course of the year. And our community relations people really have a good idea, working with the PR person about, okay, here's somebody on our team from if it's the Caps, the Wizards, the Mystics, that we can kind of target for this initiative. Then sometimes there are many other initiatives that are kind of brought to us that maybe we wouldn't undertake on our own. But one of our players has an interest in that, or maybe one of our players' wives has an interest in that. Like, we do a dog calendar, right? I just read the pillars. Dog calendar does not fit in the pillars anywhere. We can stretch those pillars as far as you want. They doesn't fit in there. But our wives do a lot for our foundation. They want to do a dog calendar. Okay. To be honest with you, they do a great job organizing it. We have guys wearing really silly outfits, in my mind, in this dog calendar this year. I think if I would have done it, they would have said, "What the hell are you doing?" But the wives and girlfriends did it. It's all fine now. And they're in a picture with dog. Could be their dog, could be dogs brought from the Animal Rescue League. And they want to then sell the calendars, which we sell for them, and then donate all that money to an Animal Rescue League. So that's what we've done. Last year we gave the, I think it was Homewood Trails last year was our beneficiary, and I think they got a little over $35,000. So, you know, it's something nice, it's fun, and it's an interesting thing for us to do. But you're right, you can't always pick the right one, but I think what we try to do is kind of minimize it a little bit. I will say we've been lucky enough so far, you know. And some things you can't plan for. One of the biggest hits on our network and everything else last year, we had one of our star players on the hockey team, this guy Alex Ovechkin, right? He skates with a special needs hockey group. And a little girl comes up to him and says, "Will you go on a date with me?" And I will say, Alex is good with kids, but I don't even think he knew what to say then, right? And our PR guy, who wouldn't like to be saying this time, is told him, you should take her up on it. So we brought her to a game with her family. She had no idea. And brought Ann to a game, and Alex comes out and says, "Hey, you want to go on a sushi date?" Because that's what she wanted to go on. So they went on this sushi date, and it was just, you know, a really, really kind of heartwarming story about how one of our players embraced a young person in the community. And, you know, selfishly as a network, we wanted to tell the story. It was a great, compelling story about one of our players, so we did, and it was great content for our network. So sometimes those things just fall into your lap a little bit, but obviously it takes the guys on our teams to really, you know, pull those types of things off. So, anything else? Yes.
Monumental Sports, how have they, I guess, gotten in front of the story as far as domestic violence and how the NFL sort of handled that side of things?
Yeah, we were talking earlier. I actually helped teach a leadership and management class at Georgetown, and that certainly was a topic for any number of classes in there. As an organization, fortunately, we haven't been faced with that. I don't necessarily want to say what I think we would do, but I know our ownership, I know our partnership group, and I know how they feel about those things. Our owner is very vocal on both the NHL and NBA board of directors, and I know how he feels. But right, that's that's a very sensitive subject for a lot of teams, and I will say that there were any number of NFL players, though, that I think that came out and did a really nice job in handling it. But sometimes it gets lost in a team kind of function and setting. So, fortunately, we haven't had to deal with that at this time. Yes, ma'am.
So you've got your own channels through Monumental Sports, but like
Yeah.
Comcast Sports Network is sort of like a big
Sure.
dispersion channel, like locally.
Yeah.
How do you work together? How do you create differentiation? Like,
It depends what day of the week it is. No, right. So, I will say this: the Capitals and Wizards rights are owned by Comcast Sportsnet. They pay teams, regional sports networks pay teams a lot of money. We signed that deal a long time ago. So I think probably when the deal was signed, we were thinking, hey, this is a really good deal for us. I wasn't around them, and I'm just guessing. And now that it's been in place for so many years, we're thinking, wow, we're not getting that much money. And that deal is coming up relatively soon for both teams. Not coterminous, but coming up relatively soon. Monumental Network's an option, right? It's an option for us to put content if we really wanted to, put game broadcast content, which we then could take to cable operators. And baseball in this market had happened with Masson, right? Masson was created just to carry Orioles and Nats, and there's a Masson 1 and Masson 2. So regional rights are one of the real revenue generators for teams, and we're in the midst of those negotiations now. But still, I do think there's a place for a Monumental Network, even with that. Right? You got how many ESPN channels are there, right? And you still got ESPN 3, right? So I think there are a lot of opportunities from us from a digital standpoint, short form content that Monumental Network is really one growth area of our organization. Yes, sir.
Is it likely that it would be only a digital network with the trend with millennials cutting the cord?
Cord cutters, and I got a daughter who's a cord never, right?
Yes.
Generation Z, right? I don't even know the last time she turned the TV on.
Exactly.
Right? And, my son, he just watches live sports. Besides that, he doesn't have any use for cable, right? But yes, we're going to come out with an app so we can be on iOS, Roku, Chrome, Amazon Fire. We could bundle our content. We could bundle our audio into it. We could bundle video. We could then take that to cable companies or somewhere else for distribution. So there is that in my Monumental Network. I think it's my last slide. The future is. And that's something that we definitely could consider and do. And for many people, right, how many channels do you get on your cable, right? And how many of them do you really watch, right? I would. I want a la carte. Well, I guess based on the price, I want a la carte, but I think I want a la carte.
Great time
Yes.
for negotiations.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have hand up first, but I won't forget you. You're right in front of me.
Can you help me understand a little bit how communications and public relations are either playing together nicely in the sandbox, and when you do not play or have the same agenda, how you come to an agreement? Because I've always looked at them as synonymous, and to see that you have two separate entities here, how you're making that work.
Right. You know what it is? It's almost it's how we define it. Like our people in our organization, our industry, looked at the head of communications, whatever you want to call it for a team. You're the PR person, right? And they really weren't the PR. They really weren't a public relations person. They were really a media relations conduit between the team and the media that helped set up interviews and suggested interviews, to other outlets. I didn't really consider them that much public-oriented. I think they are now, because we started thinking that way. I'm like, you have to think that way, right? You have to think about the stories we can tell. They're not a trained producer, but I want them suggesting stories to our network and other media and having an idea on how that story can be carried out. And in what medium, right? Yeah, there's something on the network. They've never had to deal with video much in the past. I don't know. I mean, Periscope. We actually released our third jersey design on Periscope. We had Alex Ovechkin open it up, and here's our third jersey, and we put it on Periscope just for something different, to try another medium. But now it is the same person who is a media relations, public relations person, kind of doing both. The woman who does our communications for our venues also does a lot of our business communications. So it's more like, hey, we have a new Etihad Lounge at the Verizon Center, and they one of our new legacy partners. This is what is entailed in their partnership. how do we promote that new VIP lounge, get obviously some promotion publicity for us, but also as importantly for our new legacy partner, and what outlets are important to them. Do you still have that question or
I
not?
do, yeah.
Okay.
Are you seeing differences in media that are working for the different sports, as far as different social media networks or different so the hockey, different than anything different than from basketball or some of the other venues?
I will say, especially on the hockey side too, in this town, not a lot of great hockey writers or media people. We used to have a very, very active message board on our Capitals website. I will say, before the lockout the first time, I was actually here to live through 2 lockouts, so the lockout 04-05, our owner said, well, we're not allowed to talk to anybody once the lockout comes. Why don't we invite the 20 most active posters on our message boards to dinner? I'll have dinner with them, and we'll just lay out our plan, what we want to do. The guy come from Toronto, right? So we had dinner with him, and it was his way of saying, you know, when the lockout happens, we're kind of stepping back. We're not making any comments from the media. It's dictated by the leagues, right? Who's going to be talking about us? These 20 influential people who are online, right? We reached out to bloggers. We were one of the first teams to invite bloggers into our press box, right? And I will say, there were a lot of media people that were just, shaking their heads, right? But there weren't that many of them to begin with. So we invited the bloggers in. We kind of, with another blog, I think at the time it was called Off Wing something or other, we created almost a blogger's bill of rights. And it was kind of like, okay, you're a blogger, you're not used to being in a locker room, in a press box. Here's what we expect from you. Here's what you should expect from us. Here's how you should act. Here's how we'll act. And to be honest with you, it worked really well. And look at the explosion now of blogs and social media. And so on the hockey side, I think it was just more only because there was less media people writing about it. Basketball, I will say, fans have a lot of opportunities for basketball news, right? You can go to a lot of different places, and hockey at the time, it wasn't that way. So that kind of outreach was important to us at the time. Anything else? Okay. Couple of quickies here on game day. Just give you an idea. Caps season just started a little while ago. Wizards are going to kick off later this week, so I'll just look at it from a Caps perspective. A lot of this stuff will obviously deploy through our network, through Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, probably are the most common ones for us. I will say, though, from a social media function, how many of you think social media is a communications, belongs in the communications tool bucket? Okay, how about in the marketing tool bucket? How about sales tool bucket? How about all of them, right? Everybody wants to own it, right? It doesn't need to be in one silo. It's a great tool. It's a great tool for everyone. I don't think we need to silo it. So we try not to. Try as we may. So here's a look at some of the things that we'll do on a game day. Great opportunity for us to get our messaging out. Obviously, fans are most interested in us on a game day. We'll start early in the morning. We'll promote Tune In that night. We'll promote ticket sales. I mean, we sold out 270 plus games, but we always have a couple of tickets that are available. Opposing team will always, have some tickets that they'll return. We'll promote our Hockey Fights Cancer Month. We'll always do it in case you missed it. Maybe in case you missed it from last game. It could maybe in case you missed it from the last time we played this team. We'll all do some sort of reminder type video usually. Our Caps Today blogs, our #1 blog, right? It's literally a paragraph. It's today's storyline. It's a link to news about us. It's stats. It's what's coming up. #1 blog, quick, easy to digest. We have another blog, Dump and Chase. It's more analytical. It'll look a little bit more at our team, our opponent, a little more in depth, maybe something about our team that just happened. It's our #2 blog. Our radio guy has a blog. He'll continue. He'll put audio up on his blog while he's updating his 24/7 channel. He's also updating his blog with audio clips. We'll embed some longer format. We do a magazine-style show called Caps Redline, longer format, interviews, segments, features. We'll embed that throughout the course of the day to drive people to that Caps Redline show. Obviously, interviews with players and coaches following our morning skate. Then our web writer, he does something called skate shavings. It's an update after the morning skate. What's new after the guys went through basically 20 minutes of breaking a sweat? We do a two-man advantage video show before the game. It'll be online. It'll actually run in arena that night. Obviously something easy if you want to watch on the way to the game on your mobile phone. We'll promote our foundation as a jersey auction coming up. We'll promote that, and then we'll do a final tune-in message. Now that's all before the game. Most of our fans, 50% of them are looking for information at least once a day. Obviously that intensifies on game day, looking for more information. So we're not like TV. We don't have to say, well, come at 2 o'clock to see this and 3 o'clock to see this. We create content, we put it out there, you consume it when you want it and how you want it. Maybe you're on a desktop, maybe you're on a tablet, maybe you're on your phone. Whatever it is, it's there for you to consume when you want, how you want. Of course, game starts, got an interesting, cool GIF of during puck drop. We'll continually update people throughout the games on what's going on. Then we'll use Twitter. One of the only two people in the Caps organization who really use Twitter the way it should be is our senior writer and our broadcaster. They're having a conversation with fans. I think too many of us get caught in the fact, here's something on Twitter, I'm going to put it out, it's one way, right? It's an advertising tool, it's a marketing tool, it's a sponsorship tool, but it's only one way. It's not a two-way conversation. So our media folks are involved talking to fans before, during, after games. That's the conversation, the engagement, the dialogue that I think is important to us. We have a variety of player graphics. We'll have some video highlights, audio replays of goal calls if we have goals, hopefully. The other night, we had a Vine after the game. Players coming in the locker room just doing a fist bump. Boom, just quick Vine. Got a lot of views, right? Because not everybody gets a chance to see guys walking in the locker room, fist bumping the trainer or whatever else. Sounds kind of simple, sounds kind of easy, but it was something that was new and interesting for us. Post-game recap notebook thing that you would normally find in a lot of other media outlets. Of course, the highlights and the coach and player interviews very, very important to us from a traffic standpoint, photo galleries, and last but not least, we scored 5 goals. So do you know what that means? Not Papa John's anymore. Somebody say Papa John's. No, Chili's Wings this year. Chili's Wings, right? So if you take your Caps mobile app into Chili's, you get free wings if we score 5 or more goals, right? So we'll also promote that through our social channels. So that's kind of a look at our game day. And I know you don't have that type of content, but you have content that you produce, and you can probably envision yourself. How's the content that I either produce now or that I want to produce or I'm thinking about producing, how do I use those various channels to produce them? What sort of engagement do I get? What works with your audience? Touch briefly on Monumental Network. When Ted created Monumental Sports and Entertainment in 2010, each team had their own website on their own league platform, right? NBA is over here, NHL's over here, our Verizon Center site's over here. We had a couple guys writing blogs, that's on another platform over here. It was really hard for us to monetize that and to sell that. So we created Monumental Network. We brought it all in, put it all on one platform. Now it helps us sell across all those platforms. It helps us deliver those page views a lot more quickly. So that aggregated content was important for us. Allowed for better integration on our mobile apps. We actually partnered with some third-party folks. We partnered with On Tap Magazine, which had an online presence, but thought they wanted to be kind of connected to us as some of our content would feed into theirs and vice versa. Also partnered with a couple of blog sites. SB Nation produces some great blogs. Also partnered with Pressbox DC and Baltimore, which cover the pro teams. So it became kind of a hub of sports news. So there's probably a combination of maybe 30 total websites and blogs as part of Monumental Network. About 20 of them are the ones that we produce. Another 10, 12 that are kind of third party. And we probably produce 20 different individual pieces of programming, original programming each week. We can produce live events. We do the Mystics games live on our network. We can do a live trade deadline show. The NHL trade deadline is great. A year ago, we were like the last team to get their trade confirmed. So nobody knew what was happening. Everybody was watching our site. It was great. We had a red carpet event for opening night for Caps. So we streamed live the red carpet event. So all the people who were there went home and watched the replay, but you could watch it as well as it was unfolding, guys getting out on the red carpet and going into the arena. In the future, we did talk about the idea of potentially bundling some content, which is something we could do, down the road if we wanted to. But today, our viewers are spending more time on their phone than they are in front of a TV. So whenever we're producing content, we got to think that person's likely going to consume that content on a mobile app, right? So think that when you're producing something and what that content is and how long are they really going to spend watching or reading. I will say all of it does take a huge collaboration, though. I mean, it's a marketing thing, it's a communications thing, it's our network, it's our productions people, it's our sales people. It is kind of it's a major initiative for our organization, but it does require a lot of cross-departmental collaboration. And I do think the opportunity is great for us in the future, but it is for all of us in owned media. I saw something the other day. It says the trust in mass media is an all-time low, 40%, right? So no one's trusting your traditional media, right? Have them come to you, have them come to your site, to your social networks. It's a great opportunity to use our own media, the media that we control. We can engage with our customers, our fans, readers. I think we still need to communicate with a level of transparency and authenticity. Obviously, there are going to be some things that you can't say or are unable to say on your sites, but you can't be misleading. And I think if you do that and your content's trustworthy, then you'll start to engage with your audience. So I know we talked a little bit about the network. That kind of sums it up. Anything else from a network standpoint? Yes?
One question.
Sure.
So I'm a little more familiar with MLB than NHL
Mhm.
and NBA, but you mentioned bringing your NHL and NBA sites into one platform. I know like with MLB, there's like a platform that all of the baseball teams use. Was
Yep.
that a problem? Like, does the NHL and NBA not have that, or was it a problem for you to negotiate that?
The NHL has that too. Matter of fact, our owner was on that originally to bring everybody, kind of brought everybody up to speed, right? Some teams were really good. We were good,
Yeah.
right? Like Sports Business Journal, we were the #1 site in all pro sports. Forbes, #1 in hockey, right? So the guys that run our website are like, why are you making me follow this iframe? I know what I'm doing. This team over here doesn't. Well, it brought everybody up. But we wanted to go off on our own, which was difficult, right? Especially when it comes to highlights. You can put all your other stuff over there, but the league owns the highlights, right? And so that became an issue. The NBA gave us the approval to put highlights on the site. So that was a big thing. We still have stuff, we still have information on those team sites. A lot of people still go there. They click on a video, boom, it'll take them over to the network, and we'll serve up additional video there as well. Anything else? Real quickly, from a leadership standpoint, if you will, I do think it's important for all of us as communicators to be leaders. I don't know. Many of you, I'm assuming, either have taken a class, a seminar, done reading on leadership, have an interest in leadership. I was reading it was a Ketchum study that was done recently, and it actually said that staff rank open, transparent communication as the single most important attribute to a leader. And they said 74% say communication is very important to great leadership. But only 29% believe the leaders that they work with actually communicate effectively. So when I look at that kind of delta there, I'm like, that's where we all come into play, isn't it? Right? Can't we help our leaders be more effective communicators? I think that's kind of what I missed, as a young person when I was growing up in the field. I didn't know I was a leader. I didn't even know anybody expected me to be a leader. I really wasn't even exactly sure what it meant. And I will say my kind of maybe leadership moment came in the Capitals in 2004. We had a decent team, but we weren't a really good team. And our owner wanted to win the Stanley Cup. Asked the general manager, "Can you win the Stanley Cup with the team you got?" I said, "I don't think so." I said, "Okay, let's tear it down." So trade away all your good players, right? Trade away Peter Bondra. Everybody loves Peter Bondra, right? We trade him to Ottawa, right? Had Jaromir Jagr. Made a big deal when we got him. Traded him. Traded to get Robert Lang to play with Jaromir Jagr, so then we traded him. Traded our captain. And, oh yeah, by the way, we can't wait to sell tickets for next year, right? Right, so this isn't going over too well, right? It's like, wait, where's my favorite player? And so our owner used to write an owner's corner that he would, at the time, we would mail an email to season ticket holders. And he just came and said, man, what are we going to say now? And I go, why don't we tell them why we traded all those players? So he kind of looked at me and said, all right, take a stab at it. And so we did. We explained why we traded each of the players. You know, we traded Robert Lang. Maybe people doesn't really know, but at the time he was leading scorer in the NHL, and we traded him, right? We only brought him in to play with Yager, who we had already traded. We want to get young players. We want to get high draft picks. And a couple days later, he came into my office, and he had this manila folder stacked about yay high. Had my name on it. Looking through, I didn't see anything pink at the time. I'm like, all right. So far, so good. He goes, you know what that is? I go, no, I don't. He had his assistant print out the emails he received from his owner's corner. And it was basically fans saying, A, I understand what you did, or B, I'm happy what you did, but either way, I appreciate you telling me. So Peter Bondra is still my favorite player, and I'm still pissed that you traded him, but I understand why you did it. And that kind of neutral was almost a win in my mind in a situation where we were. But it was an opportunity for us to tell our story and to be transparent about it. And I think it really helped. It really helped us. And I'm sitting here and I started thinking, you know, talking to this group of communicators and marketers, I'm like, well, what are all the different things that you do, right? And I started to put this list together, see if any of these kind of ring a bell with you. I kind of think it's kind of we fulfill these kind of roles nowadays. We're an ambassador. We're involved in branding, broadcasting, business communications, charity. We're expected to be a collaborator, of course. Content creation, employee engagement, fundraising. I see people nodding, thankfully. Hopefully not nodding off. Issues and crisis management, media interview preparation, media relations and public relations, publications, publicity and promotion, reputation management, social media, social responsibility, speaking engagements. We're spokesperson, and we're expected to be the writer and the editor, right? Those sound familiar, right? It's a hell of a job description for all the things that you're involved in. I just think it's important for us. It gives us an opportunity as communicators, as marketers, to be a leader. I think we can play an important role. There's always going to be change within our organization. We're going to be the people that are most likely going to be communicating that change. I think we probably have our own version of what we like from a manager and what we like from a leader. We probably all think back to manager leaders that we've admired throughout the years. Some prefer to be authoritative and give answers, I think, while others just prefer to ask questions. Many forget to give praise, while I think others are more likely to reward improvement and good results. And I think we've always seen the manager who wants credit, but I think we know that all leaders really want to share that credit. They want the credit to go to individuals and their team members. I will say one of the final thoughts that I'll leave you with is, I think communications and marketing is more than providing advice for news releases and producing newsletters and preparing talking points and writing speeches and Facebook posts and Instagram photos and Snapchat videos. I really think our role comes down to it's important for us to be advising our organizations to do the right thing, the right way, at the right time. And I think that's really where our value is. And it takes a communications leader, I think, to do that. I think one of my favorite quotes is, "You do not lead by hitting people over the head. That's assault, not leadership." And that was our 34th president, Dwight D. Eisenhower. And that's always the kind of leadership and manager that I like. So I always found that to be a good quote. And I want us all to remember, they're leaders at every level of the organization. It's one thing to say you're the vice president or whatever, but they are leaders at every level of the organization. And I think that's important for all of us to remember. And effective communications, in my mind, is always a strategic collaboration. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.